You ever have one of those moments where your jaw actually hits the floor because someone tries to twist reality right before your eyes? That's exactly what happened the day I heard the sickening crunch of metal outside my own house and realized Karen's teenage son had just crashed straight into the side of my perfectly parked car. But here's the kicker: rather than apologizing, they had the audacity to claim I was parked illegally. Little did they know that single lie would cost them double. It was a calm Saturday morning, sunlight pouring through my living room window. My car, a silver Toyota Camry I'd kept immaculate, was parked legally on the street right in front of my house, as it always was. I'd lived there for years without incident, but that peace evaporated instantly. I heard a loud bang and tires screeching. Heart racing, I rushed outside. My car sat there, dented, paint scratched, fragments of tail light littering the pavement. Behind the wheel of the offending SUV, none other than Karen's 16-year-old son, Jake, gripped the steering wheel, eyes wide and guilty. Before I could say a word, Karen herself stormed out from their house across the street, arms flailing as if she were in a soap opera. She didn't ask if anyone was hurt. She didn't check on her son. She pointed at me and barked, "Your car shouldn't even be parked there. You're blocking the road." I blinked. Blocking the road? My car was against the curb, perfectly within legal lines, exactly like every neighbor parked theirs. It wasn't even a narrow street, but Karen didn't care. Her son was at fault, and she was desperate to flip the blame. Jake stayed silent as she ranted about illegal parking, promising I'd pay for leaving my car in a dangerous spot. Other neighbors peeked from their doors watching the drama, and I could tell they knew exactly who was lying. Calmly, I pulled out my phone, snapping photos, the skid marks, the damage, and, most importantly, how my car was parked. Karen flailed her arms, shrieking, "Don't you dare!" But it was too late. Evidence doesn't lie. That bold claim would come back to haunt her in ways she hadn't imagined. The tension felt suffocating. Jake finally stepped out of the SUV, face red, muttering, "It was an accident." His mother cut him off immediately. "No, it wasn't your fault. That car was parked where it shouldn't be." She glared at me like I had set a trap for her kid. I didn't take the bait. I kept documenting damage to both cars, street signs, and even the distance from my car to the nearest intersection. I knew Karen's tricks. She'd bullied other neighbors before Fenny City complaints, noise accusations, threatening to tow cars simply because she didn't like them. Control was her obsession, but now she had none. A collision had occurred. Facts, not neighborhood drama, would prevail. As I continued, Mrs. Lewis, a neighbor in her 60s who'd lived here the longest, approached. "Sweetheart," she said loud enough for Karen to hear, "you've been parking in that exact spot for years. Nothing illegal here." Karen's face flushed, but she doubled down. "Well, I'm calling the police. Let's see what they say." I shrugged. "Go ahead." I actually wanted them. More documentation was better. 10 minutes later, a patrol car arrived. Officer Daniels, tall and calm, stepped out. I explained everything. I was inside, heard a crash, and found Jake had hit my legally parked car. Karen jumped in, waving her arms, insisting my car was illegally parked, forcing her son to swerve. The officer inspected carefully. He walked around my car, checked its position, and measured the distance to the corner. "Ma'am," he finally said, "this vehicle is parked within legal limits, properly aligned with the curb. No violation." You could almost see the steam rising from Karen's ears. "But he's blocking traffic," she stammered. "No," he said firmly. "This is a residential street. 2 cars can pass. The fault lies with your son, who admitted he was driving." That silenced her for a moment, though her eyes promised this wasn't over. And she was right. What happened next escalated this small street drama into a full-on insurance war. Once the officer left, Karen switched tactics. Her voice dropped into that fake sweet tone she always used when she wanted something. "Listen," she said, plastering on a smile. "Why don't we just handle this neighbor to neighbor? No need for insurance. My Jake is a good kid. He just got nervous. We'll figure something out." I knew exactly what that meant. She wanted me to let it slide, maybe take a few bucks for the damage, and sweep it under the rug. But one glance at the deep dent in my Camry's rear panel made it clear this wasn't a minor scratch. Repairs would easily run into the thousands. "No," I said firmly. "This is going through insurance." Karen's smile disappeared instantly. Her eyes narrowed into thin, sharp slits. "If you do that, I'll tell them you were parked illegally. They'll put you at fault." I almost laughed. She actually thought that bluff would work. Calmly, I held up my phone, showing the dozens of photos I'd already taken, all time-stamped. "Good luck with that," I said. She spun on her heel, dragging Jake toward their house, muttering threats under her breath. A few days later, the insurance process began. I contacted my provider, sent the photos, and gave them the police report number. They assured me it was a clear-cut case. But then the call came that showed Karen wasn't backing down. The claims adjuster said the other party is contesting liability. They're claiming your vehicle was parked illegally and caused their son to hit it. I nearly dropped my phone. She had actually gone through with the lie. But here's the thing. Insurance adjusters don't take anyone's word alone. They investigate. I had handed them a treasure trove of evidence. I sent every photo, every measurement, even a short video showing just how much room the street had for cars to pass. I also gave them Mrs. Parter, Lewis's contact information since she had witnessed everything. Meanwhile, Karen apparently told the whole neighborhood I was trying to scam her family for money. A few neighbors, fed up with her antics, offered written statements confirming my car had been legally parked there for years. At that point, this was no longer just about my car. It was about standing up to someone who thought she could bully her way out of accountability. And little did I know, the final twist would make Karen regret ever opening her mouth. Weeks passed while the insurance battle unfolded behind the scenes. I stayed calm, confident in my evidence, while Karen grew more hostile. She stopped waving when she saw me, glaring from her porch like I was the villain. Jake avoided eye contact entirely. It was almost comical to watch her crumble under the weight of her own lies. Then the letter arrived from my insurance company. I opened it half expecting drawn-out negotiations, but it was crystal clear. Fault assigned entirely to Karen's son. Their insurance was fully responsible, covering repairs to my Camry and the rental car I had used during the repairs. And that wasn't all. Karen had tried to dispute the claim with false information. Her insurance company categorized it as fraudulent behavior. This meant additional penalties and higher premiums. In short, her lie didn't just fail, it spectacularly backfired. When the repair shop handed me the final bill, I nearly laughed. The total was higher than expected, over $4,000 plus the rental coverage. Karen's insurance had to pay every cent. In the end, they shelled out nearly double what it would have cost if she just accepted fault from the start. The next time I saw her, she didn't scream. She didn't rant. She just scowled silently, her pride bruised deeper than the dent in my car. Jake kept his head down, probably wishing the earth would swallow him whole. And the neighbors were thrilled. For years, Karen had pushed people around, nitpicking every little thing, acting like she owned the street. But this time, her arrogance caught up with her. Mrs. Lewis even stopped by to say, "Good for you, dear. People like her need to be taught a lesson." Sliding into my newly repaired Camry, its paint gleaming as if nothing had happened, I felt a surge of satisfaction, not just because my car was fixed, but because Karen had finally faced consequences. She had tried to twist the truth, bully me, and drag me down with lies. Instead, she ended up paying double, losing credibility with the neighborhood, and probably facing a nasty rate hike from her insurance. Sometimes karma doesn't wait years. It shows up in the very next billing cycle. And as for me, I drive past her house every day, parked in the exact same legal spot without moving an inch. I know now that no matter how loud Karen screams, the truth is louder. She thought she could get away with it, but the truth always wins.